So in our last video, we covered creating content templates for our restaurant or our custom post types. And in this video, we're going to cover creating content through CRED forms so that our users can submit content. So I'm going to create two different forms. The first one I'm going to create is a post form for our users to submit restaurants or submit content for our parent post type. All right. So what we're going to do to create CRED forms, we're going to go back to our dashboard. We're going to hover over Toolset and we're going to click on Post Forms. All right. We're going to click on Add New, and these post forms are the CRED forms that allow users to submit content to your site, which you can then review and publish. So the first thing we're going to do, since we're doing a restaurant review site, we're going to allow restaurant owners to submit their restaurants to our site so they can be reviewed. So we're going to create a form. We're going to title it here, Submit Restaurant, and click on Next. And then once this form opens up, we have a few options here. The first one is this form will add new content or edit existing content. I'm going to show you edit existing content in a later video where we're going to set up a way for our users to edit the content that they've added to our site. But for now, we're going to add new content, and then we're going to select the post type that it creates. So in this example, we're going to click on Restaurants. And then we're going to click the status, or select the status that it's going to be. So if we click Published, it's going to automatically be published on our site as soon as they submit it. So my recommendation to you would be to do something like pending review, and then you'll get an email notification when somebody submits a new piece of content, and then you can review it before it gets published. And that's just to avoid any kind of spam or anything that you wouldn't want, or just to checking for quality and stuff like that. Because this is a staging site and I'm the one that's going to be submitting content, I'm going to click on Published. But like again, if this was a live site, I would have it on pending review. And then after visitors submit this form, we have a couple different things. We can show them a message, we can display the post, we can redirect them to a certain page. So in my example, I'm going to display a message instead of the form. Thank you for submitting your restaurant. So something like that. Thank you for submitting your restaurant. It will be published once it's reviewed by an administrator. We are going to check the box for AJAX submission. We're going to check the box for hiding comments. We are going to not check the box to allow media unless you want them to be able to upload images to your site. Whether that's necessary for the content, that's up to you. So we're going to leave that unchecked for now, and we're going to click Next. And then we're going to get an opportunity to build the actual form. Now, I do want to point out at this point that if you are also using Gravity Forms or Ninja Forms for that matter for your Forms plugin, they both have the ability to create post content, and that does work with custom post types. However, CRED really integrates a lot better with types, especially when it comes to things like automatically selecting the parent. When you're creating like a review, we want it to automatically select the restaurant that it's been picked on and things like that. So that works a lot better using CRED. But if you are just having users submit parent content, so there are no children, so if you're just having a restaurant site and you wanted them to be able to submit content, you could use Gravity Forms if you're more comfortable with that builder versus CRED, which does force you to look at a little HTML code. It's very easy. You don't need to learn HTML, but just recognize certain elements, and that's what I'm going to show you now. So on this stage, we're going to build our form, and we're going to do that by clicking on this Auto Generate Form button. And you have some options here if you want to integrate this with reCAPTCHA, and I will put instructions on how to do that below this video. And we can also, if we're using WPML, or if we're planning on using WPML, which is a multilingual plugin, you may want to check this box as well, and then click on Insert. And so now we have a bunch of short codes and HTML code and stuff like that, but don't get too nervous. It's actually quite simple. You can see that these tags up here are we're actually creating the CRED form, so we're not going to have to touch those. This second one adds in different alerts and stuff like that. So what we're going to focus on is this line here, div class form-group, and that basically means this code from this where the div begins to where the div ends, which is /div. This is one field, right? So this is the label for the field or the text you see above it, and this short code here it represents the field itself. And there's a couple options here, but we're really not going to have to mess with this. Generally, all you're probably going to play with is this label, and that's the text, what you're going to name the field, because what you've named it in the back end isn't necessarily what you want them to see on the form. So you would edit this text here, and there's a couple other things which I'll show you. So restaurant name, that's fine as it is, so we can leave that. Restaurant description, that's fine too, that's our body field. Restaurant excerpt, well, you know, you can choose whether or not you want to leave that. It's probably not necessary. We could probably do that when we approved the post. I'm gonna delete that for now because we don't really need that. Featured image, so we probably would not call that featured image, so we would say something like restaurant photo or logo, something like that, and they can upload that. Phone number, address, email address, that's all fine. And then what we want to pay attention to down here is categories. Now, if you want them to be able to see all of your categories, we can leave it like this. And I'm going to leave it like this for now, and then I'm going to come in and change it, because what I would recommend you doing is giving them a drop down for the categories. That way you don't have somebody adding their content to a bunch of different categories at once, which is what this will allow you to do. But in case you do need that, we're going to leave it like this so I can show you, and then I'll come in and edit it, right? So that's basically it. Our form is done. Really all you're going to be doing on this screen, even though it may look complicated to you, is changing our labels around. And in our child CRED form, there's a couple other things, and I'll show you how to do that. So for right now, we're going to click next. That's good. And then we have the option to add email notifications. Now, I'm not going to add one, but it is pretty straightforward. You can choose, you know, who gets notified. You can create multiple notifications. It's, you know, similar to other things. Just read through these items, and then you can format the email and stuff like that, and that'll just send out an email notification to you as an administrator if new content is submitted, or to whoever is going to be responsible for approving that content. That's all it is. It's quite simple, but I'm going to delete that for now, and we're just going to click on finish. And then this is just giving us a review of what we've done, so we can save our post form. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new page, and I'm going to name it Submit Your Restaurant. And I'm just going to click on this CRED form buttons and insert our Submit Restaurant post form and publish. And just to make it easier on us, I'm going to create a menu very quickly and add my pages to it so I can quickly show you different things, right? So main menu, create my menu, and I'm going to add our restaurant directory page and Submit Your Restaurant. And I'll just rename that Submit, that's good enough. And we'll just name that directory, right? So now we know what those are. We're going to create our menu. I'm going to put it in our top menu location. So now when I go back here, I should have a menu now, just so I can go back and forth between my directory and my submit, right? So now if I go to my submit page, we can see we now have a CRED form. So we have restaurant name, our description, our basic editor. We can upload a photo and logo, and we can drop in this other information. And you can see down here under restaurant categories, it's giving me checkboxes, and for all the categories, it's also allowing me to add a new category. Now this is something, regardless of your content, I do not recommend, because users will misspell categories, and you're going to end up having a lot of duplicate categories or very similar categories. And as we've talked about before in our WordPress tour, that's not really the greatest thing. So I would really recommend, you know, unless it's something specific for your content that you need, that we don't allow users to create new categories. So how do we get rid of this? And also, if we want to, how do we allow them to just pick one category from a drop down instead of allowing them to pick every category? I also want to get rid of this message here, and I will show you how to do that. So let's go back into our CRED settings. We're going to go back to post forms, and we're going to edit our submit restaurant. And it's going to show us our form again and all this other information. We can always change that. So the first thing I'm going to do is this right here, and we can just, if we read it, we can see it's the CRED field, and it's going to say field equals. That's telling us what field it is. And we can see restaurant category add new. So you can figure out that's probably what adds that in, and so we can just delete that. And that's it. It's as simple as that. So we're just going to delete that one tag, one line. So now we're left with the actual category selection, and you can see right now it says display checkbox. So what we want to do is we want to first of all change this to a drop down, and then we want to make sure that it is, or sorry, a select field, right? And as we've talked about in some of the other videos, a select field can either be one where they can choose one or more, or it can be a drop down, which would be a single select, and that's what we want to do. And I'll put these little tags in the video below. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to delete display equals checkbox, and we're going to pop in this. So display equals select, and single select equals true. So that single select equals true says I want this to be a drop down, and display, so it's going to change it to a select field, and single select means it's going to be the drop down instead of the box where it displays all of them and they can select more than one. So let me just save that and make sure it worked. So we're going to refresh this page. And now you can see I have a drop down field and I can choose one category. So that's how we do that. And also for this information, I'm going to do a separate video which is going to show us how to integrate this with Google Maps, and that's when we'll get rid of this. So I'll show you that. Don't worry about that too much for now. And now what we want to do is we want to create our CRED form for inserting reviews, and we want to have that as a link on our restaurant page, right? So we're going to go down to post forms, and we're going to click on add new. And we're going to do something, essentially pretty similar. We're going to do submit review and click on next. And then we're going to add new content, and we're going to select the content type as reviews. And again, this is up to you, pending review or published. We're going to display a message. And the same options, and click on next. And then we're going to auto-generate our form again. And so for this, we're going to say, review name, you can kind of change that, or, short description or tagline or whatever you'd like. And then we're going to do full review. So why don't we do full review and something like review title. We'll just leave it like that. And then we have this form group for parent. Now, normally, if you were adding content through the back end, you would want to leave this in, or if you were going to be adding content yourself, because that would give you a drop down of all the restaurants, which you would then apply it to. But for our users, that's not a very effective interface. And so I'm going to show you how to have that happen automatically. All right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to delete this form group for now. And we're going to click on next. And again, we have email notifications, and we're going to finish. So save post form. So now we have our restaurant CRED form, and we've inserted that into a page, and we have our review form, and we're going to set it up so that it automatically detects the parent depending on where it was viewed, right? So in order to do that, we're going to go to our content template, and remember, we want it to be on this page. So our content template for our restaurant, that's where we're going to insert the CRED link, all right? So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go into pages and create our submit review page. And we're going to insert our CRED form, submit review, and publish. And now we're going to go into our content template for our post type, for the parent post type, so for the restaurant. We're going to edit that content template, and wherever we want that link to be, we're going to hover over CRED forms, and we're going to do create child post link. On the page, we're going to select the page, submit restaurant review, so wherever page our form is on, and then we're going to set the parent according to the currently displayed content. So whatever restaurant it is, then it's going to know that that's the parent. And then we'll do submit review for this restaurant. And we'll open link, let's say, in a new window, current window, parent window. So let's just say we're going to open up that in a new window, and we're going to insert the short code, and we'll click update. And then if we go to Dan's Pizza Shack, we're going to see submit review for this restaurant, and then they'll click on this link, and in a new window, it'll open up our review form, our simple review form. So now we have our link here on our Shack. We can automatically submit a review. It's going to show us the form. And if I fill that out, so now I will submit my review. and I see my message, right? So now if we go back to our directory and we look at Dan's Pizza Shack, so now we know we have a review for the Pizza Shack, but it's not actually showing up. So that's our next step, right? So our next step is going to be going back to Toolset, clicking on Views, and we're going to create a new view, and we're going to call it Reviews, right? Or let's say Restaurant Reviews. Full custom display and create view. And now we're going to have this view show reviews. And we'll go down and we will click on our wizard and we will say this is going to be unformatted, next, and we will add our post title and our post body. We'll use our content template and click finish, and we'll scroll down here. And we will, so now right now we have it, it's pretty basic. Let's just make this like, you know, let's make that a heading 3. And then we'll put that in paragraph, right? So this is going to be very, very basic, very, very simple, just to kind of show you. You can make this more complicated, but we're going to save that, save all those sections. And then we're going to go up to our filters, right? Query filter, because we want only the reviews for the restaurant we're looking at to be displayed. So we're going to click add a filter, and we're going to do post relationship. Post is a child of, and click add query filter. And we're going to do the current post in the, post where this view is shown. So it's going to, on the restaurant where this is shown, we want to filter and only get the children for that. So we'll click save. And then we're going to go back to our content template for our restaurant single page view. And under our link to create a review, we're going to put in our views. So you can actually insert views in the content template. So you can have views within views. I mean, you can do all kinds of things with this. It's really unlimited once you start to play around with it. So we're going to click on restaurant reviews. We're going to insert shortcode, save all sections at once. Go back to Dan's Pizza Shack. And now you can see I have my review link, and right under I have the title and my review. So we want to probably, you know, we want to style this and do kinds of stuff like that. So let's just do a quick line break. We'll do a horizontal rule, and then we will go to our view and we'll just do a line break in between reviews just to clean it up a little bit. And this is probably too much, so instead of H3, maybe we'll just make it bold. So under here, we'll do a horizontal rule, click update. And again, we'll just click back here, refresh the page. So that's a little bit better, right? So we have submit reviews, and then under it, we have the review title and the review content, and that's going to show for all the reviews for this restaurant, right? So now we have CRED forms for our restaurant. We have a CRED form for our review. We've inserted the link to create a review under our restaurants, and we're listing the reviews on the restaurant single page view. So that's pretty much the basics of setting up your content and setting up your CRED forms. In the next video, I'm going to teach you a little bit about filtering our directory. So if we wanted to have a search and filter, you know, kind of system here where users are going to be able to, you know, browse or filter by category or filter by type or filter even by our custom fields, like whether or not a restaurant delivers. So I'm going to show you that. And then I'm going to show you some Google Maps integration, how we can get a map on our content template, and also how we can have a map, you know, viewing all the restaurants on one map. And then I'm going to show you that stuff I was talking about allowing the user to edit the content that they've submitted. So this can get really a little bit complex, and I know that some people are going to have some troubles with it. Definitely please post on the forums if you have any questions about it. That's going to help me understand what I need to create optional tutorials for. Because this is custom post types and there really is an infinite amount of ways that you can use this, and everybody's going to have their own requirements and ways that they're going to need theirs to set up, and they're going to be different. If you let me know how this doesn't apply to you or how we're missing something, let me know in the forums. I will help you out, and then if it's something that's happening often, I know to create an optional tutorial or even update these core tutorials about it. So don't spend any time frustrated and confused. The moment something isn't entirely clear, definitely post on those forums and I'll try to help you out. This is probably one of the more complex things we can do with WordPress. I know there's a little HTML involved, and so that may throw some people off. So just go on there, post on the forums, tell me you're having some trouble, and I'll do everything I can to help you out.